Hello everybody, welcome to Choose Life with Harry. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about creation. Um, when I walk around on the earth God created, I look around and I see the nature and plants and trees and flowers and grass and the animals. And when you become a Christian and you look for Him, He feeds you spiritually and you get a different feeling for the things that are around you than you do when you're not. You have a gratefulness and such a pleasing sight. Well, when I'm looking around at the earth, sometimes I want to feel closer to God, closer than I am now. And in a way that I mean, sometimes my wife and I will find a box in the basement, we'll pull it out and look at it, and we start to go through the box and we find things that maybe her father had built or made for her and her grandfather. And it's different when you hear of the things that they've made or you see pictures of the things that they've made, but then when you actually pull that out of the box and hold it, you feel it and you look at it, this is something that her grandfather actually has made. He himself held this and looked at it. And it gives you a different feeling than if you're going through pictures and you look and you see the objects that he's made. So I kind of felt that way. I'd like to look at things. I wondered if there were things I could look at that God created that are there still, the way exactly it was that when He did it. And so sure enough, there are. I came up with a few. The sun. The sun is actually exactly where it was when He put it there. When He created the heavens and the earth, that is there where He put it. Now, of course, you can't look at the sun, but you can see it out of the corner of your eye. Sometimes when it sets or comes up, you can see it, you can look at it, and it's exactly where it was. It's been doing that exact same thing ever since He put it there. In fact, it has been doing what it's been doing even before He created the rest of what was on the earth. It was the fourth day He created the stars and the sun and the moon. And there were 6 days of creation. So it's been doing that even since before He finished creating. I'd like to read some verses about that. Genesis 1:14 through 18. And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and to let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. The moon also, He put up the moon where it is. The moon you can look at. When you see the moon come up, it's been doing that since He created it. The exact same way, right where it is. That's where God put it. I don't know why, but it does something different than looking at the trees. He created the trees and the grass, but they're not the exact same. There are fields now where there weren't before, and there are houses now where there weren't before. Even certain hills and mountains have changed over time through erosion or volcanoes. But the sun and the moon, you can look at those, and those are exactly as the way He created it. The stars. Every time you see in the wintertime, I look up. My father used to have us look at the stars all the time at night. And he would teach us the different ones. And Orion is something I can point out quickly. It comes in the wintertime. It has 3 stars in a row, and that's Orion's belt. And he chases Taurus, the bull, which is a V. And those are exactly where they were when He created them. Those have been there. Those have not changed. So when you look at the sun and the moon and the stars, they're exactly the way they were ever since back in creation when anything first began. Another thing that God did was He set a rainbow in the sky. It wasn't during creation, but it's pretty close. Noah in the flood, he had the earth was very sinful, and He told Noah to build an ark. He put all the animals on it 2 at a time. and him and his family, and he closed the door, and they waited out the flood for 40 days and nights. And when he finally dried the earth enough, he opened the ark, and he told Noah he would never destroy the earth with a flood again, and to have a covenant between the earth and God himself. He set the rainbow in the sky as a reminder. I'm going to read a little bit from that. Genesis chapter 9, verse 9 through 17. And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, and the fowl of the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there be any more of a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you, and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. So when you look up and you see a rainbow, he's not talking about a rainbow that you see when there's a fountain and the sun is beaming through the fountain, you see a rainbow. He's not talking about when you're hosing your yard, watering your yard, and you see a little rainbow through the mist of the hose. He's talking about when he puts a storm on the earth, when it rains in any part of the earth that's getting rain that day. And if you see a rainbow come up after that storm, God's put that there to show you and remind you, and even himself to see and look upon it, that he will never destroy the earth with a flood again. That's something that you can look at and know that God put that there for us to look at. It's not just a phenomenon. Oh, look at, there's a rainbow. It just happened to show up. He made that happen as a reminder. It also reminds us that the world was so sinful that he destroyed it. He took it, made all the floodwaters come up and wiped out earth. All mankind was erased. Then he put that there to remind us he would never do that again. Childbirth. Genesis 3:16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Childbirth, apparently he wasn't going to have that be a thing of great sorrow. But when Eve took the fruit that she wasn't supposed to and ate of it, he told her she was going to have great pain in childbirth, and that is a fact even to today. And it's not even just the day of giving birth, but the 9 months that you have keeping the child inside you and having it grow until it's time to give birth. Morning sickness, and I don't know what women go through, to be honest with you, but what I've heard, the 9 months is not the most comfortable thing. And then to give birth is the most painful thing you've ever encountered. And that's something that Jesus and God put on woman back in the day of creation, or the days of creation. One other thing that is still happening that he said would happen, or believe it or not, are weeds. When you have weeds come up through your garden, through your yard, that is something that God did. He cursed the ground and said that from now on we're going to have to work for it. The sweat of our brow is how we're going to eat bread. It's not going to be easy anymore. Genesis 3:17, 18, and 19. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, in sorrow thou shalt eat of it, in all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, For dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. So when you see weeds growing up in your garden or anywhere you see them, thorns and thistles, God caused that to happen. Back in the day of Genesis, Adam and Eve. My dad had a garden, and he told me one day, when you see the weeds come up, it's almost a way of feeling, in an odd way, but it's almost a way of feeling closer to God, because God caused that to happen. Of course he created grass, and grass grows. Of course he created the trees and birds and the animals, and that's nice too, but it's kind of a separate thing. He created the weeds and the thorns and thistles, and when you're pulling them out, of course you're not praising God, but it actually is. You'd have to be a Christian to understand it. You won't know it because he feeds you spiritually to really comprehend it if you're not a Christian already. But when you pull the weeds out of your garden, God caused that to happen. And so it's almost a way of being closer and feeling something that he actually said in his word, curse the ground. So when you look at the sun and the moon and the stars, that's something that he actually put there. The weeds he caused, the rainbow he set there. Childbirth, it is painful, but it's something God said would happen, and it's still happening even today. If you'd like to be fed by God spiritually, you need to be a Christian. You need to accept Jesus into your heart. I'd like to give you the opportunity to do that today. Jesus came into my heart. He started feeding me spiritually. He fed me spiritually through his word. I had to read the Bible. I read the Bible before I was a Christian, and I didn't get anything out of it. It was a bunch of stories. But when you accept Jesus into your heart and ask him to forgive you, he opens a gate, the path, the narrow path that you take, and when you walk on that, he starts to feed you spiritually, and suddenly the Bible becomes an amazing thing. When you read out of it, he speaks to you. He not only speaks to you, he speaks to everyone that's living on the earth. Personally, he speaks to each one of us through the Bible. Even though they're the same words that everyone else is reading, he speaks to you in your own personal needs. If you would like that to happen for you, I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask Jesus into your heart right now. You have to want him. You have to need him. You have to want to be with him forever and ever. Ask him to help you live the way he wants you to live. You need to pray this prayer with me right now. Dear Jesus, I pray that you will please forgive me for all the sins that I have committed. Forgive me for the sins I don't even remember, I don't even know about. Please come into my heart and help me to live the way you want me to live. Thank you for coming into the world and becoming a man, dying for me on the cross, taking my sin. I pray that you please help me to live for you in the way that you want me to. Help me to live a clean life. Open my eyes to the things around me so that I can see truth. Clear out my conscience so that I may be able to hear you clearly. Thank you for dying for me. Please come into my heart and help me live for you. In Jesus' name, amen. Now what you need to do is get a Bible. You need to find a church and find some people that also have Jesus in their life to encourage you. And then you also someday may be able to encourage those who are coming into Jesus for the first time themselves. I hope you have a great day.